When I met Hiro, he was studying to be a pianist, and then he was at the point working for a children's intervention hotline. It was a volunteer job, and he met this group of social workers, and he just was getting tired of doing music, and he said, okay, this is a good time to change paths.
I'm a psychologist who studies public policies and programs related to children. I'm in this weird subfield called community psychology, the area of psychology that works much more at the level of contexts and systems. They could be schools, they could be health systems, they could be youth development programs, those kinds of things. I would say my research is particularly to reduce inequalities that afflict all of our societies. I co-founded the Global Ties for Children Center at NYU with Larry Aber, and our center aims to bring the science of child development to programs and policies. The Sustainable Development Goals are an initiative of the United Nations to build consensus among the nations of the world around what their own goals should be, and therefore what are the world's goals to survive as a planet and as a set of societies. I contributed in a small way, though at a critical point in the development of the Sustainable Development Goals, to build a goal related to early childhood development and learning into what became SDG 4.
Sesame Workshop is the nonprofit behind Sesame Street. Our mission is to help children grow smarter, stronger, kinder. We are wherever children are around the world. Alhan Simsim means welcome sesame in Arabic, and the focus of that work is to support children affected by the Syrian civil war, particularly in Jordan, Lebanon, Iraq, and Syria. It had 3 different components. One was mass media. The second component was the direct on-the-ground implementation, which is where our partner International Rescue Committee comes in with their strong ties with the communities. The third piece was research and advocacy, and that's where we worked together with Hiro to make sure that we were investing in research studies that built the field, but then also provided more guidance on what works and what doesn't. And we found through 4,000 Jordanian children that in fact watching the show does help children name specific emotions and tough emotions like frustration and loneliness.
The Foundation for Child Development is a social justice funder for young children. We leverage research, policy, and community to put children marginalized by racism, xenophobia, and economic inequality at the center of our concerns and of our work. And we really wanted to be guided by strong, rigorous research evidence. People migrate often because they're seeking better life. Sometimes they're fleeing political violence. They're fleeing poverty, they're fleeing war. And so it's so important just to understand why people migrate, and they usually come with such aspirations. Aw, Hiro,
Hi.
so good to see you. Welcome back.
Thank you.
What Hiro does so beautifully is he really sees the full humanity of those families and those kids, and he rejects the victim-blaming narratives, and he really helps us see kids and families in a holistic way. Both the ways they're being harmed, but also their resilience and their joy and their compassion and the ways they show up for one another, for their communities, and the ways in which they're also still pursuing their dreams in the midst of some very, very harsh attacks.
Before the research that you and your colleagues did on the father engagement, we didn't have any evidence whether it was possible to have an intervention that impacts the father's well-being.
Well, that impact evaluation was super complicated to run, of course, because we were collecting the data in both the host community and then also in the camps with the Rohingya. So, but your team was very flexible, I remember, in implementing in the host when our work got kind of constrained under the conditions in the camps. But it all worked out really well.
Hiro's style and approach has been so respectful. And he really makes it a point to understand the particular sort of background, culture, and context. And Hiro also has so much respect for implementation.
Hiro wrote a book called Immigrants Raising Citizens, and I read it, and I was like, oh, he's a faculty here. So I went to his office, and I was like, I want to do this study. And he's like, all right, tell me what your question is. And basically he started guiding me. All good? I was born in Bangladesh. We came here as refugees, asylum seekers. I came here as a child, and we never went back. We just let our visas and things expire at a certain period of time. But by the time I was an adult, I got sent to detention for that. It was a reality check, that the day you turn into an adult, everything becomes scary. I have one tattoo that reflects my life. And this one is a mother breastfeeding a child. You can only see the mother's eyes because she has to cover her own identity as an undocumented immigrant while she's raising a child who grew up here wearing a hoodie. So these parents are raising children who are Americans, but at the same time, they have to hide their own identities, their own status, their own life, because they're undocumented. And there's a writing on the bottom, it says, in Arabic, do not mock a pain that you haven't experienced, because everyone's suffering is different. I think the first principle of a mentor and mentee relationship is for the mentor to believe in the mentee, like believe in their ability to learn. The second is to care for them. Care as in like, hey, how are you doing? Without any outcome. And the third is to both of them have a relationship where they can actually give constructive criticism to each other at some level even. To have a dynamic where it's not always about criticisms or strengths. It's just a combined relationship where both of you grow together.
The superpower that comes with whatever background you're coming from is the potential to make a difference. It's not an easy thing to do, to pick up and cross a border and start up a new life that's away from the networks and supports and your family. I view that as a tremendously moving and kind of inspiring thing, that people are willing to start a new life. And the extent to which opportunities are available in that new society are what transforms what might be a kind of victim kind of perception to one of contribution. I'm Asian American. Even within Asian Americans, Japanese Americans are a small group, and then later kind of growing up as a gay Asian American and having that identity too has absolutely influenced what I do in my work.
Hiro is always focused. Everything he does is always number one, and he concentrates and focuses on that.
I was very lucky to have mentors who pushed me to do things that I didn't feel prepared for, but could do. And so that's what I've tried to impart to people that I mentor as well.
Hiro is definitely a bridge builder. He really respects the expertise of scholars across all sorts of disciplines. So he's one of those rare scholars who can get along with the economists, as well as sociologists who are ethnographers, as well as more grassroots researchers that are working with local communities. And he's able to bring them together in synthesis, because synthesis work is so important. It's not just what one scholar knows or one discipline knows, it's what do we know from the entirety of our research ecosystem.
I'm often skeptical about exactly the magnitude of change that might have occurred from something that I've done, but I think is the incremental achievements towards improving programs and policies for kids and youth, what you have to kind of try to celebrate and enjoy. Because if you keep your eye on huge policy impacts, that is generally going to be disappointing.
Working with Hiro is by far the greatest professional privilege that I've ever had. What's interesting about Hiro is that he will be the most brilliant person in any room, but he's also the most humble, and he's always creating space for others. And so it's in that way that I've learned from Hiro, both as a scholar and academic, but then also a manager, a leader, a collaborator. I think anyone can make complicated research sound complicated. To make research accessible is a revolutionary act, and I think that Hiro often does that.
He's really good in like getting things together and presenting them. He's pretty calm about it also. He keeps his cool. How he does that, I have no idea.
Of course, I want to change the world to a positive degree while understanding and using my research training to understand that that might be a very difficult task, and you may never achieve it, but to work towards it is still very meaningful.